Good afternoon. I am really charged up to bring you this next piece of my my van build. I will tell you though, full disclosure, I'm having a heck of a time making this video, and I think it's because it's different than the other videos I've made. You know, the normal process is you start with, you know, all your pieces, and then you show your building process, and then you show your finished element. With this particular segment, specifically my power system, my battery and the charger and everything, I ended up buying a fully assembled kit. So there isn't anything to show regarding that. So instead, I thought I would just take some time to explain why I ended up going the route of buying a fully kitted system, even though, you know, one of my goals with this van build is to do as much of it as I can on my own. So I'll talk about that, and then I'll actually give a tour of the unit behind me and talk about the different elements of it. So that, I think, will be interesting for folks, because if you're looking to do it yourself, you'll see what's involved. And if you're not looking to do it yourself, then you understand kind of the beauty of the system and how much work they put into everything working together. And then I'll finish off, I'll throw some shots and some segments of the installation and, you know, hooking up the wires and so on. But if you're not interested in that, you can just skip it. In any case, I think that's probably how I'm going to approach this one. So why did I decide to buy a fully built kit when at the beginning of my van build I had made a decision to do as much as I could on my own so that I could learn, and if something, you know, didn't work right when I was out and about, I could fix it. And it really came down to the complexity of this particular part of the build, the electrical system. And as a matter of fact, it was so complex that I had already made the decision after I built it, supposedly from the pieces, I was going to actually hire an electrician to come in and verify that everything was connected correctly. It's just not worth it to me to risk lives. And if you don't do this right, you can have, you know, it can either A, not work on you when you're out in the middle of nowhere, or B, even worse, you know, there could be a fire, and that's the last thing you want in a small confined space. So this was already in my head, but when I found Tiny Watts Solar, it really just parted the clouds for me and made me feel very good about it, because I had, through many years of research, had created a full list. And not only did they check off every one of my must-haves, but they actually had a number of my nice-to-haves. I'll talk about them when we go over the tour of the unit itself. But needless to say, it was it felt great. The other piece of that was that they didn't just do everything. So you don't just take the van and then it magically gets done, although they can help you with that as well. Their angle or their process is they assume that you are doing a van build and that you want to do some of it yourself. So they send you a pre-wire kit with instructions, and the wires are to connect from the unit to, say, your alternator or the shore power. If you're going to get solar through them, they'll give you a pre-wire solar kit as well, so you can hook that up and get it all ready. And then they send you the actual unit, and then when that comes, you have to have all your wiring done in your, you know, in your van, so your runs and everything like that. But then you literally just hook those wires from your van, like from an outlet, let's say, or a switch, into the inside, and they have it all prepped for you with shrink tube ready. And so you just crimp it and shrink it, crimp it and shrink it. Yeah, it takes a lot of time to do all those, but you still are doing part of the process, is my point, and you still understand how the system works. So I was still getting that, but it eliminated the part that made me more nervous, which is making sure all the elements coming together are done correctly, and that the wire size is correct, and that the fuses are correct, and on and on and on. So this was really perfect for me. So the last step I needed before making my decision was I wanted to talk to them, because I was going to spend a good bit of money with them. And I guess, full disclosure, this is not an inexpensive system, but I guess quality, you know, really, you have to look at it that. I don't mind paying a reasonable amount of money for something as long as I get very good quality for it. And I wanted to make sure that was the case. It looked like it on their website, but then I wanted to talk to them. And also, just as a reference for folks, this one battery, if you buy it from the manufacturer after tax, I think it's like $1,500. So it's lithium batteries are expensive, so this is, and I say this because if you're going to do your own van system, and even if you buy all the components, you have to be prepared to spend a little bit of money to do it and do it right. The other nice bonus is that they're a solar company, and this is going to be a second home for me. So as a result, I actually can write off the purchase as a solar install, and that will allow me to take a certain percentage off. And as a result, and of course you have to figure that out for yourself, but as a result, it actually brought the cost down to pretty darn close to what it would have been had I just bought the individual components. But yet I get a pro or I get a pro company to put all the pieces together for me, and not only that, but test and verify that it's done correctly prior to sending it out to me. So my last step was actually to have a phone call with them, because I wanted to make sure who I was working with, and that's just as important as the what for me of what I'm getting, especially when I'm getting something like this that's so complex. So I've actually had many calls now with the owner, Wes, and he's married to Savannah, and all I can say is they've just got such an incredible zest for life and to make life better and to improve the world. And it comes across when you talk to them, and it comes across when you look at their website. So I felt this genuine sense of honesty and integrity when talking with them. And I know this sounds like an infomercial, but I haven't been compensated in any way. I just, when I get something that I like, I end up becoming passionate about it, and why not share that with others so that they can also have hopefully good things from it. Wes he's an engineer, I think, engineer in renewable energy, and he worked for a couple solar companies before realizing that he wanted to go do this. And Savannah has had a passion for kind of the tiny home element, I think, her whole life. I know that when she was younger, a child, she actually lived on a boat with her parents, which was very cool, for quite a number of years. So she understands tiny home life. And as a matter of fact, they're passionate not just about RVs and tiny homes, but also on the marine side. They do boat related energy stuff too. So it was very cool, and I love talking with him. Wes actually has a gift. He's not only incredibly knowledgeable on all of this stuff, expert level, of course, but he's got the ability to explain it to you either in writing or when he talks to you on the phone, so you can understand it. So it reduces the mystery of it and allows you to feel comfortable about doing the steps you need to do to kind of install. So that was another reason that it made me feel very good to move forward with this. And I'll just leave one last thing. Wes's last name is Watts, and if you don't find that funny, and the irony in it, considering he does everything with electricity, I don't know what would be considered irony. I joked with him. I said that he probably was destined to do this job, and maybe he was. Maybe he didn't even have a choice. Maybe it was just part of who he was. In any case, so with that, I think I'll stop talking. And I will say that I had done a ton of research on how to do these and install yourself with all the pieces and everything like that when I was thinking of doing it and going down that path. So I will put in the link a few of my favorite van folks that have done a great job explaining it if you want to go that route. It's obviously just not the route I went. So with that, let's move to the tour. We're going to spend most of the time on the inside of the unit, but to start off the power station tour of the Tiny Watts system, they did a really great job laying it out, basically giving you every combination you could need for your van or your tiny home. So up here are 16 dedicated 12-volt circuits or switches that you can hook up to, lights and outlets and anything else. Down here are your power protection circuits. So these are kind of more heavy duty for direct current, both the incoming, so you've got your alternator, your shore power, and solar. And then you've got your outgoing, so you get your 120 volt circuits in here for running things like your hot water heater, and I'm going to use an induction stove. You can use it for charging your laptops and so on. And you got your batteries down here, and then this is 4 additional DC circuits. Unlike these are 12 volts. These ones are 24 volts, which is actually the natural state of the system. It's a 24 volt system. And I'm going to use that for my refrigerator and the compressor I'm going to put in, and likely for a water pump. The advantage of 24 volt is it's much more efficient than a 12 volt system. You can use smaller wire in your van, save some money that way. And it also allows the things that are running off 24 volt to do so at lower power more efficiently. So my cooler will run better at 24 than 12. And then, of course, the inverter that converts everything. So I think that's it. Now we'll jump to the inside. All right, time for the inside. There is a lot going on here, but you know, I guess that may be the point, right? This is exactly why I ended up using Tiny Watt Solar for buying their kit. Now they've got 2 different ones. They've got a weekender and a full send. And I believe the difference, or the only difference, is the capacity of the inverter and then the capacity of the batteries you get. Other than that, I think it's the same. And so I guess I'll just start with when I got this kit, you know, and opened it up, it was filled, or it had a whole bunch of bundles of wires that looked like this. They were just hanging on one end, and they're connected, pre-connected already. But on this end, they made it super simple. It's literally, you have your wire you put in and crimp it and then shrink heat it. And that's it. Of course, I had to go through and prep for this and strip all the wires on my van side, but you'd have to do that anyways. This same setup was for your PV wire or your solar wire. They had it for your alternator wire. They have it for your shore power wire, which remember they gave you in the kit. So they really just thought of everything, made it super, super simple. Moving over, so this right here is the inverter. And this guy is a beast. It's a 5,000 watt inverter. And as long as you have the power behind it, or the energy behind it, I mean, you think about it, this thing can run what my induction stove that I'm going to have, that could be up to 1,800 watts. My hot water heater, which could be another 1,500 watts, and I'm not really sure, but other stuff, charging your laptop, and I don't know. Anyways, it's got a lot of capacity. Kind of moving on to the batteries, which is what stores your energy, right? So this is these are lithium batteries. These batteries, the 4 of them combined, have the capacity of about 5,000 watt hours of energy. So it matches the inverter. If I ever wanted to use that much power, that would go for an hour, and then I would have depleted that. But it also just gives me a lot of reserve. I plan on using this system not only for my van, I should state, but I also plan on using it as a backup system for my house. So if there's a power outage, I can run an extension cord, plug it into my van, and run my refrigerator and freezer I have inside, as well as charge, you know, a few of the kids' devices and mine to make sure we've got our cell phones. One more thing on the battery is this is a lithium battery, right? I mentioned it in earlier, but I wanted to just recap why they're so great. So you've got the ability to recharge lithium far greater than you do lead acid. Lead acid batteries can recharge about 500 times, while this is over 5,000. So we're talking 8 to 10 years of use out of it. And then just the amount of energy storage and useful energy you can get out of it. With lead acid, you can only go down to about 50%. So whatever it's rated, you can only get about 50% of it. And below that, not only does it start to drop in the output it does, but it starts to degrade the battery as well. So this one can go, lithium, this is a lithium phosphate, can go from 100% down to 0. And during that entire time, produces or outputs the exact same amount of voltage. So it's useful for everything. I know they're more expensive. They're like 3 or 4 times more expensive, but the life use of lithium is just far better, and it's far better for the environment because you don't have to recycle as much. Anyways, it's just really good. As long as you're keeping it for more than a year or 2, you're going to make your money back. Down here are more of the brains. So we've got the battery controller. There's a big power distribution hub here that helps, you know, take the energy and then move it around. There is the alternator controller and the solar controller. You know, I guess that's it. I might just leave it with one more thing, is this, when you get it, it looks a bit like a work of art. There are so many wires in all different gauges, and you know, getting this unit and having it had been pre-tested, I went and did my own testing. So every single circuit I set up, every wire I connected, I turned it on one at a time and used a voltmeter, and I got the exact voltage that I thought I should get, whether that's, you know, 13.6 or 120 volts for another my other circuits. Everything was perfect. I didn't find one issue with the system. So I don't know if that helps give people confidence, but it was really a flawless process, and I'm really happy I did this because I could focus then on doing all the other fun stuff in my van. So hopefully you found this useful, and if you have any questions, let me know. Number 2. All right, 3, 2, 1. Woo! Look at that. We have power. All right, now let's do the controller, which is number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Here, I'll swing around so you can. 3, 2, 1. Yeah.